What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Risk Valor. I'm your host, Alyssa. And for those who are new to the channel, we are here to empower other women. It's raw, it's real stories, and we welcome you to join the shit show that we call our life. And today, I am so excited to have the dynamic, beautiful, ambitious person that you might recognize from streaming on the range, co-founder of Ghost Optics, modeling, who knows? It is none other than Megan Jewell. So welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction.
Of course, I'm super stoked to have you on here. And I
Yeah.
say that, but we had a great phone conversation beforehand. And I know that we talked about the underrated conversation of being on the journey. You know,
Yes.
it's like you can speak great things at the top of the mountain, but tell us a little bit about the journey that you're currently on, because you are ambitious. You've changed directions of quite a few times.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I've definitely changed directions a number of times just within the last few years of my adult life. I started out as a full-time hairstylist. Did that for 8 years, working in a salon, and kind of burnt myself out of that really quick. I reached a
Yeah.
point where I had built a clientele. I had a great salon. I was doing everything that I dreamt of doing when I was in cosmetology school. I was,
Mhm.
you know, pretty much I had manifested that exact life that I wanted. And I was living it in real time. But at the same time, I was like in my head, what do I do now? What's next?
Yeah.
I achieved the clientele. I achieved the beautiful salon on the beach. I achieved this, that, and the other in this career space, but I never set any further goals. And now I feel stagnant and like I don't know what to do. I didn't really know where to go. I felt like my
Mhm.
feet were stuck in the mud career wise.
Yeah.
So I think I just burnt myself out of that. The hours were rough. It's pretty physically demanding. I would say it is a form of manual labor. And I just decided to go a completely different direction. I was like, you
Mhm.
know what? I'm just going to go super part time. I'm going to focus on my own businesses, my own ventures, and in a completely different realm. And I'm just going to go full force. And so around that time is when my husband and I started Ghost Tactics, which is a firearm training company, as well as we have merch and soft goods and stuff. But the primary purpose is to educate people on how to safely use firearms and even self-defense, maybe not involving a firearm, but just proper self-defense. We really want to gear towards women as well, because not enough women know how to defend themselves.
Mhm.
And we live in a crazy place. This
Yeah.
country is, a bit crazier every day. So I think in this world, it's important to know how to defend yourself and not have to go straight to deadly force. I think that's an last resort absolute last resort. So if there's anything you can do to prevent that and to get away, I mean, that's what we want to encourage and teach as well. And I also do social media
Mhm.
for fun, but it fortunately does pay me in some aspects. So those are kind of the directions that I'm going now. And I work
Yeah.
also, this is so random as well, but I also work in bottle service in Dallas. So that is my part-time job. And then I do social media and ghost tactics throughout the week.
Which is cool. And I have so many things I can ask just based on that. And I think number one that a lot of women or listeners in general be interested in knowing is, how are you balancing everything that you do? I mean, you have hobbies, you do things that fill your soul, fill your pockets, and
Mhm.
fill your brain, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
How do you balance it
absolutely.
all?
So it took a while for me to figure
Mhm.
that out. I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
For a while, I just constantly felt overwhelmed. And I'm the type of person to where if I am so overwhelmed, I will shut down and do nothing. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty much rendered useless because of my own anxieties and my own thoughts.
Hmm.
But I think it's a much more peaceful life if you just take one thing at a time. So on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, I work 2 to 3 days a week at the club. The shifts are easy. My job is easy. I enjoy it. I don't mind the hours. I work there, have a good time, come home, and then wake up Monday morning and just start one thing at a time. Maybe I'll, make a piece of content that day, or maybe I'll do some brand outreach. Maybe I'll find or source a new graphic designer or come up with a new design for a t-shirt. Like, it's just little things like that, just day by day. And I have it organized as well. throughout the week. So Mondays are for content creation and streaming. Tuesdays, maybe catching up on tidying up the house or meal
Yeah.
prepping for the week, making sure I'm getting my lift in every day as well. So I like to organize it by that way. And I feel like it's much more digestible, and like you said too, one thing that stuck with me is filling my soul with the things that I love. And fortunately, all of these things I am really passionate about. I'm passionate about um, shooting and going to the range like recreationally. I'm also passionate about teaching people and showing people how to protect themselves and how they can better serve themselves in their own life. I'm also passionate about streaming and playing video games or creating
Yeah.
content that could add value to somebody's life. So I feel like when you find those things that do feed your soul, it doesn't feel like work and you make the time for them. And each morning, I make sure I take a good 30 minutes at the very least to myself, no phone, no social media, in whatever way that looks, whether it's me sitting outside or taking a walk or even just tidying up the house, making myself breakfast. I'm just taking that time to myself and then I can start the day.
Yeah, and I like to hear that. And that's like one of the biggest questions that people ask me, people ask anyone, because it's like, how do you balance? There's no time, right? Because we don't all have the same 24 hours, right? Like, no, we do. It's how you
Yeah.
use those hours. And I love that you talk about all of the things that you do, because it's almost a lot of people I'm starting to surround myself with, the women are all like bucket list women. And they
Yeah.
call themselves that because they want to fill their life with things that bring them joy. And I think sometimes we forget about those things. Like when I was younger, I used to do art. Like, why don't I do art anymore? It's like
Mhm.
bringing those things little by little. The gym has kind of taken over the art realm for me. So the gym is like my thing now. I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
love it there. But I like that you touch on that, because that is a daunting thing. How am I going to fit all this if I have kids or my work is too demanding? It's like, no, there's got to be time for you, because at the end of the day, like you don't want to be 9 to 5 till you die.
I agree. I that's a hard life to live for some
Yeah.
people, me being one of them. I know you as well.
Yeah.
And just working for the man in general. I would just rather work for myself and deal with the struggles that I'll face as an entrepreneur than be
Hmm.
making somebody else rich just by me showing up to work.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where there's going to be challenges regardless of what route you take. Like
Yep.
entrepreneurship is a whole new set of challenges, and you're essentially on your own. Like you make or break whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's not that, oh, once I get my, freedom of space and time and financially free, like there's no challenges anymore. Like absolutely not, especially for people who are super ambitious like you. There's always going to be something. Like it's
Yes.
not good enough. Like I want to keep doing better. I want to keep seeing what my life can do, what I'm
Yeah.
capable of doing. And I think that's a powerful place to be, you
Yeah,
know.
I completely agree. I think that's a really good point to touch on because it's a slippery slope and
Mhm.
it's a fine line because you could be constantly achieving what you want but still never satisfied. And I think that can really teeter in either direction of negative or positive. So always setting goals and always being a bucket list person is what I aim to be. I want to be ambitious. I want to find a way to change the world, or at the very least, find a way to add value into people's lives on somewhat of a regular basis. Doesn't have to be the entire planet, but if it was,
Mhm.
that'd be fucking
Awesome.
awesome. Um, but also, I think being so grateful and showing gratitude for all of the accomplishments we have made, because when you are ambitious and you are that bucket list woman or that bucket list man, it's really easy to forget all of your triumphs and
Yeah.
everything you've been through up until the point where you are currently. It's very easy to forget that. So I think it's essential and important to your journey to be like, okay, well, in the last 2 years, I accomplished this, that, and the other. I'm very pleased with where I'm at now because I reached my goals, but now I'm going to set a new set of goals and I'm going to reach those. But I'm going to show gratitude and be grateful for everything that I currently have and everything that I've worked for.
Absolutely. I mean, I think gratitude is an underrated thing. Something that like, took me a while too to just be grateful for the little things, because the little things add up. Like if I look at my life now and I asked myself 5 years ago if I would have imagined it this way, absolutely not. Like 100% no.
Yep.
So it's like being grateful across the board for everything.
Yeah.
I think that's important. And kind of going back to your bottle service thing, I know we were talking about you like it's 30 seconds of, you know, I don't even know, like them questioning you, or you just having to talk about yourself, but you're against all these different women. And obviously we're speaking to a primarily women audience. And it's like, we size each other up no matter what it is. But you were in a specific situation where it was more sizing up probably than usual. It's kind of like being in a bodybuilding competition where everyone's like, their body looks way better than mine. Their shoulders are more
Yes.
capped. Like,
Yeah.
tell us
That's
about it.
I think that's a great comparison actually.
Yeah.
Because it's very similar in principle. And so a little backstory for the listeners. I used to live in Vegas, and my best friend 2 years ago, I think it was a year ago. What are we in? It was a year ago. My first season was 2022. So she convinced me, our best friend convinced me to audition for the bottle service gigs in Vegas. And I know what everybody's thinking, like, you're auditioning what, to bring out a bottle of liquor? It sounds so ridiculous, but it's taken very seriously out there,
Yeah.
because those nightclubs and those day clubs in Vegas, they bring in obscene amounts of money, like insane, hundreds of millions of dollars. And so they are very serious about their staff, and they want you to look a certain way. They want you to fit into the mold that they've created within their business. And if you don't, then you do not get a call back. You show up to the audition at the hotel, at the pool, at the club, wherever, with thousands of other women who are gorgeous, with perfect bodies, may have all the experience in the world, their resumes stacked, or they've never done it before, they have no experience, whatever, all different heights and shapes and sizes of women. And a few thousand people are auditioning for a handful of job opportunities or job openings. So the competition's pretty stiff. And I remember at a few of the places I auditioned, I just went to every single one, because you audition throughout the month of January. You usually will get a call back maybe late January, early February, because there's a lot of women that they have to go through, right? A lot of applications or resumes. And it's very mentally taxing, because every morning, sometimes 3 to 4 days a week, if not more, depending on how many auditions you want to do, you are getting all dolled up and dressed up to the best that you personally can. You're making sure you're fit. I mean, some girls just stop eating, they drop water weight. It's wild. But you get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and you go stand in line in a bathing suit and your heels, and just pray that you make an impression enough within 30 seconds that you have to interview to get hired. And you're doing that with thousands of other women. So doing that multiple times a day or multiple times a week, it's very mentally draining, because if you let it, you can start to overthink and self-sabotage, and, oh, well, I don't look like her, and she looks a lot better than me, and I haven't worked there before, I don't have this experience. It's, like you said, just like a bodybuilding competition, in the sense that you have to stay in your own lane. You have to have blinders on. You can't think or look at anybody else. You're only focused on your goal, and that's to get hired. So I saw girls cry. I saw girls have anxiety attacks and panic attacks and breakdowns. Yeah, I don't mean to laugh. I'm sorry. That's so fucked up.
It's just kind of like, it's not that big of a deal. Like,
yeah, it's crazy. It's like, this is a job. Like, it's just a job. And I think honestly, I got into my head a few times, and I got nervous a few times, but ultimately I was proud of myself for keeping my cool. But I think because it was so spontaneous for me, I decided a month before auditions that I was going to do it. This wasn't like a make or break moment for my life. This was not even a direction I had ever really thought about going into. I've worked in the service industry since I was probably 18 years old, but it was just a totally different avenue. And my first thought was, yeah, what do I have to lose? Sure. Like, I'll go for it. I don't care. And I did like a 6-week cut. Got my diet all dialed in, gym was all dialed in, and I was like, you know what, this is the best that I have to offer right now. So if they don't pick me, that's okay. I'm just not their cup of tea, but if they do, then it paid off. Fortunately, I got a call back from the first place I auditioned, but it was funny because that was the first place that I auditioned, but I still went through all of the other auditions before I got the call back. So
like, just for practice.
Yeah, you have no clue. And it was definitely rewarding. I mean, it was a cool experience. It led me to where I am now. And it can be a very lucrative industry depending on where you're working. So I think if you have the ability to do something like that and you want to, while you still have your looks and your physique and your age, your youth, whatever, I think you should just go for it.
And I think that mindset is key too. Like if we just went into things not married to the end result,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a like the fact that you were like, well, if it happens, it happens. That was like my first competition. I was doing it not to
Yeah.
because it's a very expensive sport. So I don't like do it
Oh,
just for
yes.
fun, but I was not thinking I was and which I didn't win anything my first show, but I was so proud of what I looked like. I was like, I've never had a six pack in my life. And I was like, wow, yeah, like
Awesome.
it was horrible getting to like it was great prep until like the very last few weeks you think you're dying. But
Yeah.
but I'm like, it's that mentality shift of like, okay, if the result is like not the end all be all, like, oh my God, like some people probably think that that was like it for them. There was nothing else they could possibly do in the world. They're going to have no value or what they put their self-worth on the line to the
Yeah.
point where they're like really upset. So I know we like laughed about it, but I think it's because our our mental state, which is why we're here to help other people. It's just
Yeah.
like, hey, don't be married to that end result. Like your worth has nothing to do with somebody else thinks of you or your performance or whatever the heck you have to say. Um,
Precisely. And I think
yeah.
that that kind of false dichotomy is really, really common, especially within women,
Mhm.
within men as well. But it's this awful form of self-sabotage that a lot of us go through. And we just think that, okay, well, if I don't win, then I must be this, that, and the other, or I must not have any worth because I didn't get the first place trophy, or I didn't get hired, I didn't get picked, then this is a direct reflection of who I am as a person and what value I bring to the table. And it's so dangerous to think that way because
Yes.
every door closed in your face, I know this is kind of a cliche saying, but it's so true. Every door closed in your face is just an opportunity for another door to open.
Hmm.
And I don't often like talk about religion, but just like a quick snippet, I'm a woman of faith,
Hmm.
and I
Me
grew
too.
up in a I love that. Awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah, I grew up in a pretty religious household. I'm not your like typical religious woman, I guess,
Hmm.
but I read my Bible every day and I love it.
Yeah.
I usually keep it to myself, but I think just trusting that I am in I'm in a very small portion of control of my life and God is in control of the rest. I will
Yeah.
do what I can, but everything else is left up to him. And so long as I accept that and have faith in it and I just follow his will, that's the saying that I say in my head all the time. If it's not his will, then it's not for me. That
Yeah.
simple. And I think whether you're religious or not, I think anybody can relate to that though. Like if it's not the universe's will for you to do this, that, and the other, then something else is going to pop up. I think it's important to remember that so that way we don't get trapped in that, okay, well, if I lose, this is the end, you know?
Yeah. No, it is dangerous, like you said. And I think right now, at least this is my interpretation. I don't have stats or anything like that, but
Yeah.
I believe that there's a larger issue with the age of social media, the age that we're in right now of self-sabotage. You're seeing more self-help things. You're seeing a lot of self-love, self-awareness, like things that I don't remember hearing when I was younger. And like because it's coming an issue where people's worth, their love for themselves, like we all, oh yeah, self-love, I love myself. Like a lot of people don't. We don't
Yeah.
actually fully embrace that. We don't. Why is there so much talk of self-love then? If
Yeah.
it's not an issue, like it is. I'm reading a book called The Mountain Is You, and it's about self-sabotage. I love her. She's like one of my favorite authors.
It's my
Um,
favorite book.
really, I
Favorite
like that
book.
one and the 101 essays that will change the way you think.
Haven't
Another,
read that one. I got to read that next.
yes. So I own it too. So if you ever need to borrow it and you don't want to buy it,
Appreciate you.
yeah. So
Thank
I'm like,
you.
I love her books, and The Mountain
Yeah.
Is You is one that is really powerful because at the end of the day, and she just has a beautiful way with words, but it's like
Mm.
looking. Obviously, it's like a lot of it just points back. All of it points back to you. At the end of the day, it's you that dies. It's you that lives. It's up to you how you look at the world. It's okay to be sad or whatever, but like to identify those things about yourself within yourself that you don't like in somebody else is sometimes something you don't like about yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so much good in there, and I always recommend that book. So I'm like, but I feel like the fact that it's talked about so much, and I see self-love everywhere, and maybe it's because the algorithms chase what you follow and like what you look
Mhm.
at. Yes, that's part of it, but I think it's being talked about a lot more because it really is a problem.
I agree. And I think we also, I mean, I feel like you and I are in this same age group. I'll be 30
Mhm.
next month. So I think the generation that we grew up in as millennials, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but I've kind of come to a basic consensus that a lot of our experiences from our childhood have drastically affected adulthood.
Mhm.
And I think any true deep-seated issue could probably be related back to our childhood, right? And we didn't talk about mental health when we were kids. Like going to therapy had a stigma around it. Like you only went to therapy if you were crazy, right?
Yeah.
So that with things like that, like therapy is an incredible outlet. I think everybody should go to therapy if they can, because I think it could be beneficial in a million different ways. You don't have to have been abused or experienced serious trauma or have PTSD
Hmm.
to go to therapy. Any quote normal person could benefit from it. And so I think growing up and having those kind of stigmas around mental health, and the only time mental health was used in a sentence in my personal experience was the extreme,
Yes.
like schizophrenia, or you have
You're
serious
bipolar. Yeah.
yeah, like serious mental disorders. But mental health, I mean, I think you could consider it a bit of a spectrum. I mean, you have so many different things that kind of sit on there, and some are more severe for some people and some are less severe for other people. So I think my take on it is that it was just never talked about. And it was kind of like don't talk about that. Like, you're not crazy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
I agree. And mental health is a better word than whatever I was trying to explain before.
it's all
But
the
yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're all
But yes,
synonymous.
but it might be a generational thing. And someone at work, actually, because I'm a millennial, I'm 30. I turned 30 in last November, so I have a little bit of age on you, I guess, but
I
not much
love
more
it. We're all in
experience.
the
But
same boat. Yep.
yeah, so it's funny because they were calling me a millennial at work. I'm like, yeah, but I feel like there's still parts of our generation that are a little bit more old school. Because I'm like, we didn't have social media. I didn't have a cell phone until I was like a
Ew.
senior in high school, and we shared it. Me
Yes.
and my sisters had to share the phone, so it's
Which
not
one?
even like
Which phone did you have?
it was the flip phone, like and then my first actual phone that I bought myself was an NB.
Amazing. I
I
love
had to
it.
have the keyboard and it was orange and it was beautiful,
Yep.
and I had to buy the case because that was like the thing, that
Yes.
little plastic clip-on
I love it.
mini keyboard. But
Those
I'm
were the
like,
days.
we didn't even do anything on those. We
God forbid
texted.
you hit the internet button and you
Oh,
get charged ten
yeah, and
dollars
your
every
dad lets
minute.
you know, yeah, and that
Yeah.
was before unlimited.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Those
I'm like, you
so
guys don't
different.
understand. And now here we are with freaking AI doing
Oh
everything.
my gosh. Yes. Literally
I'm like,
taking over
what?
jobs. I saw a prediction that AI has the capabilities of taking over 85 million jobs.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
with
crazy.
bookkeeping, math, like little things. Because I
Accounting.
mean, yes,
Mhm.
like anything that has to do with actual just knowledge based. Like, yes, there's still going to be some human aspect to it, and that's why I say embrace it, because it's not going anywhere. It's only going to become a bigger thing.
It's
Some of
only
it's
going to
cool.
grow.
Some of it's like, oh my god, what's going to happen to, like, I work in a place where it's going to be manual labor for a very long time. So
Yeah.
it's, like, I'm on my feet a lot too, and they
Mhm.
run really lean, so they don't want to have like freaking robots running the place because it costs a
Yeah.
lot of money. We're profit based, so the more
Yep.
money we can keep, the whatever. But I was talking to my sisters actually on FaceTime earlier today, and they were like, I'm not touching AI. I'm never gonna. I'm like, just check it out. Just go on ChatGPT. It's free. Just ask it some questions, tell it about yourself, and just see what happens. Just be exposed to it. Don't be afraid of it. Um, just I don't know. I'm so interested in like new things. Not that I'm saying like, oh, I can't
Mhm.
wait for everyone to lose their jobs. Like, no, that's not it. But there's always
Of
something to
course
be
not.
afraid of. I'm like, I'm not trying to live a life of fear. I like to embrace, some
Yep.
aspects of it.
Absolutely. And at any point in the history of time from now, the future, the past, there's, like you said, there's always something that you could fear. You could find a
Mhm.
million different things to be afraid of. And yeah, this is the direction that our society is going. Is artificial intelligence is going to be taking over a number of things that we're used to seeing humans exclusively do that. And whoever knows how much time, years, however long it'll take, that will now be exclusive to artificial intelligence. And it's a pretty crazy thought because
Because then
you
what do you
know
do?
yeah, like we adapt and we evolve, and I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But it's
I
it's a
know.
pretty crazy thought, because when we were kids we're like, oh yeah, by the year 2030 we'll have flying
Yeah.
cars. Like,
I'm like,
you know.
well, we have electric bikes and freaking the hoverboards. I remember when the hoverboards came out, we're like, oh, like,
Yes, I
like
know.
that was a thing.
That was like the Back to the Future moment too. I'm like, oh, it's here.
Yeah. It's
And the lace
finally
up
here.
Nikes. Have you seen
Yeah.
those?
No.
They have like,
Oh,
well, they're not just like the movie in Back to the Future, but um they have Nikes. They came out a few years ago, but they lace up automatically. I think it's a
oh,
button or it's some crazy shit
technology.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that it's just like that. And then the hoverboard came out. Okay, so this movie is predicting
It's predicting
basically.
everything. The
Yeah.
Simpsons, if you go back to those
Oof.
episodes, South Park, things like that, there's like some weird like
Yeah.
jokes that I'm like, but did they know?
This is too accurate.
I know, and
Yeah.
then we were talking at work too about someone brought up freaking alien. Do you believe in aliens? And I was like, I mean, I mean, I don't know. Like, they spot UFOs, and there's like, I don't ever discount things. I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
like a sole believer. Like, I'm out there with a telescope looking for UFOs all night. Like, that's not me. But
Yeah.
we were talking about all that. I'm like, but did you also think artificial intelligence was crazy? Did you think this was crazy? I'm like, literally, the internet and everything I need is in this device. And pretty soon it's
Mhm.
going to be like probably a contact you put in your eye and you don't even need a phone anymore. And it just reads your freaking brain.
I have
I'm
no doubt
like,
about it.
no.
Have you seen I don't know what it's called, but Apple came out with a new product. They haven't started selling yet, but they did the launch and it's very Ready Player One-esque. So you wear this vision thing. I
Oh,
forget
yeah.
what, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I
It's
forget
almost
what it's
like the
called.
video game thing, but it's different.
Yeah. And you could sit in your living room,
Hmm.
right? And if you want to change the channel on your Apple TV, it's just a swipe of a finger. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And like you're basically like touching things in the air, but in your vision, it's I don't even know. I sound so dumb, but you know what I'm
No,
trying to
I
say.
saw
It's
it
crazy.
briefly. It is crazy. Just
Yeah.
like you can work out from home with those big wall screen things.
Yes.
And I mean, I know it's just probably like TV, but they actually come with like bands, and I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm just saying everything's gonna is already feels like it's at our fingertips. Like pretty soon we're gonna be like, are we all just gonna be living in our little orbs or like in a spaceship like in Wall-E, and like the world is just happening and we just are
Yeah.
existing? Like, like do we have to make money anymore? Like what do you do? But again,
Right.
we'll cross the bridge when we get there. But it's so interesting to me to see everything evolve.
It's super interesting. And it's also interesting to see this level of instant gratification and how it has affected society, mentally speaking, and emotionally as well. I feel like because of the level of instant gratification that we experience just on a daily basis, a lot of people don't know how to emotionally handle that. And so when they don't receive everything that they want at the click of a button, they don't know what to do. You know,
I was
the
like, oh, my
people,
phone is stupid, or
yeah, people throw fits. And it's like,
yeah,
okay, like, yes, it's very convenient to have everything that you need from your phone. But I think this is just my personal opinion, but I think how easily accessible everything is has been a massive detriment to society, especially when it
yeah.
comes to social media. I mean, just the level of dopamine, the rush that you get when you see likes coming in or comments coming in, or even just scrolling through TikTok. I
Hmm.
think it's very dramatically affected us mentally and emotionally. I mean, you go on TikTok and let's say you see a video of somebody whose dog might have passed away and maybe they preserved their ashes, and then you scroll up and it's this really funny video of neighbors arguing, and then you scroll down and then somebody died, and it's like, how do we
Yeah.
process this? Like, this is not normal to be experiencing these rushes of dopamine within 15 to 30 seconds for however long we're scrolling. And that's on any app, right? It could be TikTok, it could be Instagram, it could be Twitter, but it's everything that we could possibly want is just right in front of our face. And I think that's kind of scary sometimes. You know, it can be good,
Yeah.
used for good, but I think it's a little nerve-wracking. I don't know if you ever experienced this, but sometimes I just have to put my phone down and just live and breathe in the moment that I'm in, and just
Yeah.
bring myself back to my little reality in my house and not
Yeah.
be so involved with the internet. It's overwhelming.
It is. And I've fallen prey to it, when I first started like my social media stuff, which my whole family was like that's weird. Why would you do that? There's nothing in it. And I'm like, well, there kind of is. Like I'm meeting a lot of cool people. I'm getting some free stuff to advertise, affiliate marketing was a new thing.
Hell yeah.
Um, but but it did kind of take over to the point where I was like, I actually deleted like every app off my phone for like a month or so because I was like, I know, oh, that's money, that's time. I'm like, no, I'm like going crazy. I'm like, it's consuming, and I have to be conscious of that. And now I've even diverted attention because when you start the modeling thing, I'm like, now I'm losing who I am and my brand, and like, so I had to like kind of go back, and that's why I'm podcasting. That's why I'm doing stuff that I'm passionate about because I'm like, I have a brain inside my freaking head. Like, just because I can model too and I enjoy that, let's bring who Alyssa really is. You kind of lose who you are. I mean, there's so many filters in these apps that I remember when the app came out that made you into all these avatars. Like everyone was doing it. I freaking did it because I was like, I'm just curious what character I would look like from Game of Thrones. Like I
Yeah.
don't know,
I
like
love it.
because why not? And some of them were like fucked up looking, but other than that, I'm like, there were some
Yeah.
cool ones in there. But
Yeah.
it's consuming, and it's like as long as you're conscious about it and talk about it and like take the breaks when you need it, because it's gonna be there tomorrow. It's gonna be
Yes.
there the next day. I understand some people live by it because that's their business. Okay. That's why there's a lot of outsourcing too.
Yeah.
But
And we all got to get outside and touch grass every once in a while.
literally
You can
breathe the
outsource
air.
for a day, breathe some oxygen, touch some grass.
Yes, I hear you. So, with all the many industries that you find yourself in, how important would you say the network and the community piece is to you?
The community, as far as like firearms community.
Could be firearms, it could be maybe your streaming family. I don't know what you guys call that stuff, but like how
Yeah.
important is that community piece or networking? How has networking helped you or hindered you?
I think it's kind of a lifeline. I think it's
Yeah.
essential, because if you build a community on Twitch, Instagram, whatever social media platform you're running from, they are the bread and butter to your kind of existence on the
Yeah.
internet. Because if you could put great content out there, but if nobody's watching, then doesn't matter that much, unfortunately. But when you start to bring people in and they're consistently showing up and they simply enjoy you for who you are, what you put out, I think that's essential. I don't think that our pages on Instagram or Facebook, whatever, they wouldn't be what they are without our community. So
No,
I think it's 100% essential.
I do love that.
Mhm.
And it's so important. And we all have our own very unique communities, whether it's like they're following you because you're a hottie boombalati, or it's like you're good at what you do, or it's like, oh, cool,
Yeah.
you have like guns. Like so many guys are like obsessed with that. And you're like, it's just like
Yeah.
whatever. But then you have the girls too who are like really empowering. And I found like women that are very self-secure are the ones who are lifting you up. It's,
Mm.
there's a lot of we've talked about this, and I always tell other women too, like the whole purpose of this too is to build that women's community because I want to be able to like call on you guys or send you a text or something or be able to refer you to someone like, hey, I know someone who runs Ghost Tactics. They train women in self-defense and firearms training. Cool. Like now I have this community where I'm like, okay, you can go here, this person, you should meet this person. Like it's a network type thing. And I think that's important because there's not a lot of women networks. And if there is, it's like, the CEOs of businesses. And I'm like, well, I'm never going to be invited to the yacht club to talk about,
Yeah.
like whatever, so it's like
Yep.
having a community of our own of like the creative. Sorry, my dog's going nutsos out there.
And
um, so for women who are trying to get out there and whether they want to make a Twitch, do a Instagram, or start this whole journey, which a lot of people are on social media these days and are becoming public instead of private. What would be your best advice to just pursue something? I would say first, I guess my first piece of advice, because you didn't ask me, is like be ready to be yourself because it is so hard to come back from being something that you're not. But now your
Oof.
turn.
That's a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic piece to start off with.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Like people know when you're not being authentic.
Hmm.
That's no secret. Like people do pick up on that. And I think just showing up as your authentic self, that can add value to a number of people. You just got to find them. So just by putting yourself out there, and even with my platform, I still consider pretty small. Like I just remain consistent and I stream as often as I can. I try to stream at least 4 days a week.
Hmm.
As far as Instagram, you know, posting and putting valuable content out there when I can. If it's a shooting video or if it's something that might make somebody laugh, or it could be literally anything. I kind of want to start posting more lifestyle stuff.
Yeah.
So something that could add value, even just for a few seconds in somebody's day, or educate them in some way. I think having content that can do that for somebody will be a lot easier for you to grow and to leverage, and doing that consistently day in and day out. But most importantly, not giving up,
Yes.
because it can be a very, very frustrating journey. And even just today, I was talking to my friend because I got notified by Instagram that they completely blocked my account from being visible to non-followers, because unfortunately, Instagram is not very gun friendly.
Yep.
So you go through these hoops and hurdles, and it happens. I feel like at this point, no matter what type of content you're creating, it's gonna either offend somebody up at Instagram, or it's gonna
Yeah.
offend somebody watching and commenting. And that's, I think, also, I'm adding a lot of advice here, but another really
Yeah.
good piece of advice is just don't give a shit what people say.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, like, don't give a rat's ass what anybody has to say about you on the internet. If you're showing up authentically and you're being true to yourself and you're creating valuable content to the viewers, then literally fuck everybody else who wants to say otherwise, because there's always going to be somebody that will try and shit on your life,
Yep.
because they're trolls on the internet. There's no
They're
rhyme or
not
reason
you.
to it. Yeah. It's always somebody. I mean, there's the saying that you could be the juiciest peach in the world, and there's always somebody who's not going to like peaches.
Yep. I love
So
that.
it's so true for people on the internet. I
Mm-hmm.
remember I posted this was actually really funny. Last year I posted a video. It was a funny video about my husband and I, and I'm white, he's black. It was a funny video about me being like really white, and it was just really stupid, and it was a parody. And we both watched it. We're like, oh, this is hilarious. Let me post it. I
I
posted
can
it,
already see where this is going.
turned my app off, went to bed, woke up, and it had gone not super viral, but it got seven-figure views and
Wow.
thousands of comments. You're so racist. You're so racist. Da da da. You're a mud shark. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Like, this is my husband.
I'm like, wait a second, because the last time I looked up the definition of racism is not what was happening in this marriage. And I just had to laugh. I
You
had
have to.
thousands of people saying that I was racist, and that, or he needs to stay within his race, and I need to stay within my race as far as and I'm like,
I think
that
that's
is
racist.
literally racism. Like, I'm so
uh,
confused.
uh,
Yes, I'm so confused how the definition of this has gotten so far beyond what it actually is. It's done a full 180. But we just laughed because we're
yeah.
like, I'm never going to meet these people in real life. I know for a fact these people aren't going to come say this to my face
Oh,
if I ever see them in person, right? And that's just, you have to have that mentality. Like, I don't fucking care what you have to say. I'm going to put that out there because I think it's funny. And there were a lot of positive comments too. Like, it wasn't fully negative. Like, a bunch of people were like, oh, this is hilarious.
yeah.
Don't listen to the haters. Da, da, da. So there are people out there that will value you, but you gotta stick with that. Because I will say, unless you're putting out um offensive, super duper controversial content, usually it's like 80-20, 80% positive, 20% negative. And I think that's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah. And I think what you said, I mean, all of that, I've like so many things I could say. The big thing is like the not getting discouraged and quitting, because it is a world of like banning everyone. Like, I had a friend who works in like marketing for social media, and I was like, can you look at my page and see if it's shadow banned? Like, I'm pretty sure it is. Like, well, your name has Patriot in it. And I'm like, well, that's not changing.
Yeah.
And it's either guns or, I'm like, I've straight up seen like labia on here, and that seems to be fine. So I'm
Yeah.
like, how in the world? And it's like they're out to get you. Like, oh yeah, you're like, I've been demonetized. But there's like, not, I don't want to say like a little bit of loopholes, but it's like for some reason, like I wasn't being seen to non-followers either.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't make me quit. I just went to other platforms, or I just posted whenever I wanted to. It actually took like a little bit of like weight off my shoulders. It's
Yeah.
annoying not to monetize on things that are getting a lot of views, but or not getting views at all, because no one is seeing it other than who you currently have. Today I had like a massive growth because I had repost pages. And that sometimes is like the best way to get new followers if you're
Mm-hmm.
shadow banned. Because
Yep.
sometimes those shadow bans never lift, and they say they don't exist. They definitely exist.
100%. Yeah, they
There's
do.
algorithms that do all that stuff. And like I was really frustrated, and I was like, should I just go to my other a new page? Like, what do I like? I don't want all these. Oh, this is my backup page and my 3 other backup pages. Like, no, this is who I am, and until they delete it, like I'm gonna keep using it. But the
Yep.
growth happened from other reposts or other people, because it sucks not to have your content seen. You spend a lot of time sometimes coming up with something or writing a caption, and I'm sure you have this experience too. I was gonna say this part as like a female, like attractive female. It's sometimes you put so much thought into like a caption or like a message you're trying to send. And I'm not saying it's like just a picture of my boobs and then something like, no, that's not what I mean. Like it's a cute picture and it's like you look cute, but no one reads like the captions. You're almost like, what? Like that's when you say like lifestyle. I'm like, I've tried to go towards that. I had like a dumb picture of me with like my microphone, just like because I'm like, that's me. Like I'm just like a weirdo. Like so I'm trying to like being yourself is so much easier, and like it's hard to get the message seen at the same time that you're trying to, however the picture is, it's just a weird world we live in. And like you can't make everybody happy, but you got to make that part of the community happy too. They want to see you looking cute.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Like you do have to keep posting whatever
Yeah.
your niche is and grab the attention, but then like maybe sprinkle in some new types of content in there so you can kind of start to shift a bit. And I feel like, I mean, this is me speaking for myself, but
Mm-hmm.
with the firearms community on social media, I feel like it's tough just because we are fighting so many battles, uphill battles. I mean, for instance, you get shadow banned
Mm-hmm.
on Instagram, you can't contact anybody. And if you use Instagram as your primary source to,
Yep.
either do brand deals or ads or funnel into your podcast, funnel into other sources of revenue, and now you're not getting any views, you're not able to leverage that anymore. That's really tough, and i
Yep.
i i had my TikTok last year. It got deleted. I woke up one day and it was gone. And
Wow.
just the crazy part about that is that it could happen to you. And so I think treading carefully in that realm, unfortunately, for
Yeah.
now. I say for now, we
Yeah.
never know. I mean, after Elon bought Twitter, it was,
Now
I
that's still kind of weird if you see some of the interviews that are happening in the marketing person he brought in, who's
I'm curious to hear about that because I've seen
the
a
Google
few.
lady. Yeah.
Did he bring somebody from Google in there?
Yeah,
That's
so she's like
interesting.
the number one marketer. So it makes sense because marketing is not necessarily like his thing. So you bring in an
Mhm.
expert, but
Yeah.
it's some of the conversations they're having are interesting because it's kind of like I mean I watch like I don't watch standard news. I watch like Steven Crowder. I watch guys like
Yeah.
that. That's
Hmm.
where I get like my updates from because it's funny. They're
Yeah.
patriots and they're freaking real with you because they're like we don't care. They're on Rumble now, so they said fuck
Okay.
YouTube. Um,
A lot of people have moved to Rumble.
yeah, so I'll probably be uploading to there too because I'm like it's they say it's conservative, but I'm like it's just not censored. It's free speech. Like there's nothing wrong with what people are promoting. We're not like kill everybody. Like that's not like no one is saying that. These
I
are
love that that's labeled
responsible.
as conservative too, just
I
because
know.
it's
I'm
not censored.
like we don't have we lost what these words even mean,
I
first of
think
all?
so.
Like
I
we're a
think it's
democracy.
definitely.
Actually, we're not a democracy.
Mhm. A lot of
But
it's gotten lost in
but
translation.
I'm like, that's fine. Just read a book, take a class or something and learn about your own country. But
Yeah.
it's super interesting to me. And it can be very discouraging, especially when you're making money from something. And there's a
Hmm.
lot of people like, I mean, if you're not on social media as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, like you're irrelevant. And another underrated page for professionals and for
Hmm.
businesses is LinkedIn. I've been posting on LinkedIn like a
Yeah.
mad person in a creator because they have a creator mode now and just
Okay.
posting those little carousels and stuff. I don't know how it is with the gun community necessarily. So, but I have seen a lot of veteran stuff, a lot of um, the warrior foundations and the wounded warriors, all that stuff like that. They're out there, and there's like range pictures. So I've seen that stuff. So I'm like, it might be safer, but again, you have to remember they're all under the umbrella of big tech still. So
Right.
for that, I'm posting mindset stuff. I'm posting my Risk Valor podcast because it's women empowerment. I'm like, again, I hate that it's like everything else to be careful, but that is like a actual niche, and women are what I'm targeting
Hmm.
to get them in a community. So I'm like, that makes sense, but it's very underrated to be a creator on there. There's newsletters, there's articles you can write, there's little photos. Like it's becoming it's nobody talks about it because I think it's just for finding jobs, which is what I thought until I started looking at it more. I'm like, oh, you can really leverage this. So I would say like leverage it all you can. That would be like my advice too. But I didn't know if you were on
Yeah.
there already or it because it can be hard to grow, just like any other page. It was so difficult to get to the first like 10K. Then once you got to
Yeah.
10K, it was like, okay, cool.
I feel
But
like there's always that threshold. Like with each platform,
yep,
they have a threshold of, oh, sorry, my dogs are barking,
mine is
of
too.
getting to that. Like I feel like 10K for a while with Instagram was like
It's
the
hard.
tough one.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always known about LinkedIn. I do have a LinkedIn profile, but I never knew to utilize it for some type of social media platform. That's really
Yes.
interesting. So that's new that they're doing the
It's
newsletters and
creator.
stuff,
Yes,
the
you can be a
creator stuff.
creator. You can be a
Okay.
creator. So you can do lives on there if you want to. You can do um like I have so many things that I've been reading. So it's like you save these PDFs, you make them into carousels like those taps because people look at those
Yeah.
more short quotes. Like the other day I posted like 10 things to do this weekend to reset your mind for the week ahead
Right.
because
Oh, that's
people on there
awesome.
because it's a you want to say it's professional people, but that's first of all how you find high value clientele for your
Mm,
business, but
mhm.
also it's just different level of people. There's always going to be fake accounts. I've and all of them. If your name is Shabba Ding Dong, I'm probably not going to. And I hate that like 90%, like a lot of them. I'm like no 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 because I'm like I hate that. Like I don't. You're not real, but there
Yeah.
are a lot of real people on there. And someone who's coming on my podcast, I met through LinkedIn, and she works with entrepreneurs in like mindset and what is it called, like conscious journal. I forgot what it's called. I'm going to sound stupid saying it, but she's going to talk about that on the podcast. But I met her through there because she liked something of mine. I read her profile and I was like, holy crap, she'd be awesome for this, like another
That's awesome.
entrepreneur. So I'm saying
Yeah.
it's another place like for you and anyone listening, it is very underrated. And being a creator on there is a real thing.
Okay. I'm gonna have to
So
check it out
say
then.
leverage everything you can. And that's what I would say for anyone like going towards any kind of business or even just your own personal brand. And like I think personal
Mhm.
brand is so important. Like if you had to sum up what your personal brand is, what would it be?
That's a great question.
I just thought of it now.
How much time do you have?
Yeah. Right.
um, I would say as far as my personal brand, um, I mean, we could sum it up simply as just lifestyle, firearm friendly gaming. I think that would be the best way
Yeah.
for me to sum it up in just a few words. But if you want me to explicate a little bit, I guess I could. But I think those are being my main
Hmm.
hobbies and the things that I like to share on the internet. Um, I don't share my relationship too much because I mean, the people that know us, but
Yeah.
I feel like posting relationships on the internet nowadays is just, you're just asking for opinions that you don't care about. And that's no
Yeah.
judgment to anybody who does share the relationship. I just prefer to keep that part private. But Wayne is a big part of my journey too, because I mean we own the company together, and that's what our big end goal is. So I would say the biggest thing for us is Ghost Tactics,
Yeah.
as part of my brand as well. You know, I want that to be my end all be all and his end all be all in the
Yeah.
future. Hmm.
Definitely. And like I can agree with you on like relationships. I've been single for like 5 years. Yes, I've been on dates, but nothing has like stuck. I haven't
Yeah.
found the one yet. But like as a mom, it's hard for me to I'll post him on like birthday or Mother's Day, things like that. He's always in my story when he's with me. But yeah, it's different because you don't want to like I don't want to there's all these YouTube kids. There's all these kids that are like that's their life now. Like they have a camera in front of their face 24/7 and I'm like I really want my kid to be like in the moment. He is
Yeah.
starting to like some of the gaming world, or he'll be on YouTube and watching like other people play games. That's like a thing. And I'm like, whatever, watch Megan Jewell. but
Appreciate you.
yeah, but it's like I don't get it because I never like I played games like I used to do like Xbox. I don't do that stuff anymore. Just because I don't like my mind. I just haven't done it. I'm like, if I picked
Yeah.
it up again, like as a young lieutenant, like yeah, that's what we were doing. Like me and the guys were playing games, and I'm like, it was
Mhm.
fun. And now my kid's starting to like get into that stuff, and I'm like, that is like part of you is like I could leverage this because he's funny, he's cute, but I'm like, do I want to put him in front of a camera and make that his life? Like I
Mm.
understand that's what I'm doing, but that's something that he has a say in what he's going to do with his life,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
I don't know, it's just weird.
It's tough because like there's it's neither right nor wrong, right?
Yeah.
Whether you do or whether you
Mm-hmm.
don't. It's just it is what it is, and the storyline just continues. The journey continues after whatever decision is made. But I think at this point, how can I ask how old your son is?
He's 6.
6? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because he's going to be bombarded with it, just like
Yeah.
all. Is that still considered Gen Z, or is there a new generation? What's the new
Eh,
generation?
It might be Gen Z.
Is this what?
I don't even know what
Don't
comes
know.
after Z. Is it like Z1? Z like is it A back to A? Like I don't
It goes back to the beginning.
like I
I
mean
don't know
really
either. Because I
I don't
don't.
know.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works, but yeah, that's. I think that's a tough one because they're going to be bombarded. Kids at any age will be bombarded with social media no matter what, and that is the most coveted career now for all children
Yep.
under the age of 18 and even into 20s is to be a YouTube creator or an influencer. And I think that alone is crazy because I mean, yeah, it makes sense. Like I want to film videos and get paid millions of dollars. Who
Some
wouldn't
do.
want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a lot like there are creators that do that, but the amount of creators that make enough money to like live comfortably, I feel like it's relatively small. Um
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it depends on what industry you're in, but if we're going to compare that job to other jobs, like if you're an engineer or you're an electrician or you're a plumber, content creation is still so new. And a lot of people still don't even consider it a job. You know, people will see you maybe you have a 6-figure following and they're like, hey, I'm going to send you a sweatshirt. Can you post 5 times this month? And you're like, no.
Yeah.
Like,
Send me a
I've,
grand.
yes, I have built this platform
Yep.
and I will charge accordingly. So if you want me to
Yep.
promote your brand and market to the people that are, gracious enough to follow me and trust my opinion, then money will follow. So
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that so many kids want to do that, and I don't think they realize what they're in for because you're putting your entire life on the internet, and you have to be okay with opening yourself up to that type of scrutiny.
At a young age. Yeah, and that's why there's a lot of mental health that goes back to mental health. I mean,
Yeah.
are you okay with someone telling you that you're ugly or that your voice is stupid or
Mm-hmm.
think that are hurtful. Like people are just cruel on there and some of them are
Yeah.
grown ass adults going after kids and
I
it's
feel like most of them are,
yeah, just like
unfortunately.
weirdo people that have no lives other than to like shit on other people. But I did want to touch
Yeah.
on the thing that you said about the money piece. So
Hmm.
back in I began my journey in 2020. It was like, oh, I'm gonna try the social media thing, whatever. Like I finally got into the best shape of my life after a kid,
Hmm.
and I thought that was like, oh my god, it's the most amazing thing ever. Because it was for
It's
me. I'm like,
awesome.
how do I look better now than like before I had a child?
Yeah, of
So
course.
so I'm like, hell yeah, I look great. Like let's rock it. And started like growing and all this other stuff. And then you get a lot of free. And I always think like in the beginning, it's good to do some free stuff
Hmm.
and like free knowledge too. I think like, hey, this is how you do this, or like, on this podcast, we give out a lot of stuff. If people just listen, they would learn a lot.
Yeah.
To any kind of podcast. And but there came a point where I was like, all right, like my brand is me. And now it's being overshadowed. Like you're telling me I gotta post X, Y, and Z this many times. And I'm like, I don't see a freaking paycheck coming in. I got to that point of like, I think it's important for creators to realize like you have a value, you have worth, you're marketing for them. I'm like, how much did you make off of like how many clicks did I go? Oh, you got like, whatever, however many clicks. I'm like, cool, what do I get from that? Because you got sales, I got like a free
Hmm.
t-shirt.
Yep.
Your
Never
t-shirt that
adds
costs
up.
like $10. Yeah. So I think it's very important to claim your value in the beginning. I mean, not in the beginning, like when you start figuring out who you are on the internet and your brand, like in your, be affiliated with the right people too.
Hmm.
There's some weirdos out there that, I got connected with and I was like, ooh, no, I do not agree with that. So,
Yep.
so I
I have
mean,
a few horror stories too.
it's sadly a lot, and everyone's a t-shirt, distributor or
Yeah.
whatever. And a lot are cool. Like I like a lot of people, and especially I will always have a soft spot for those veteran-owned companies. I'll
Yeah.
always rep them. But there is a time when you're like, I got to get paid for something because it's again, I'm helping you market, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But yeah, I think it's important to claim your value, and it's like it's not a selfish thing. It's not like, oh, I'm just money hungry. It's like, no, I'm gonna help you, but we got to help each other. Where's the mutual piece?
Yeah, exactly. And I think I think the best way to say that to a brand too is like, hey, I thank you so much. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to commit content creation to unpaid deals. But if something opens up or your marketing budget increases in the future, please let me know. And
Yeah.
I think that very professionally and eloquently lets people know, like, pay me. Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not going to just take your t-shirt or your hat. And I don't want to sound like I'm full of myself or like I have some massive platform, but if you've built a platform to where you know that you can benefit um a company just by
Hmm.
sharing it, because it's something you believe in, it's something that you care about, because I think that's also equally important. Like, a lot of creators nowadays are getting paid a shit ton of money to promote products that they don't believe in or that just aren't good. And it's
Yes.
so shitty. It happens a lot in the makeup community. That's
Yeah.
like so different than what I do, as far as on social media, but you see that a lot in the beauty industry where it could be a trash piece of makeup and some creators like, oh my God, y'all need to buy this. And it's like,
Yeah.
damn, like, I get, money talks and bullshit walks, but it's shitty to see that happen, because then it starts to lead people to believe like, oh, content creators just lie to get paid.
Yeah.
And
And some
so,
do.
yeah, and they always will, right? There's always going to be somebody that's going to kind of take that low route and do it the wrong way. But if you build a community where people trust you, and because you're authentic, like going back to what you were saying earlier, being
Mm.
your authentic self unapologetically, you know, we don't, I don't feel like we should be so afraid of censorship as far as what we say and stuff, so long as we're respectful and, we're promoting safe, legal, respectful content. Like, just say what's on your mind, be yourself. Like, chances are some people might agree with you, some people might not, but just put yourself out there, and you will benefit. Somebody will benefit from that, you know.
No, they definitely will.
Mm-hmm.
You can smell bullshit from a mile away, and it's because I
Yeah.
don't, I'm not one to just buy things when I see a video on. Those are the ones I scroll. I'm like, don't
Yeah.
care, don't care, don't care. Kiala. How many times have you heard Kiala? The
So
anti-bloat.
yeah.
I'll never buy it, even though I'm like, guys, I know you think if it starts with this, I know what you guys are thinking. This shit doesn't work. Like that, I want to buy just so I can like I'll make a fake one with just I'll write
Yeah.
it on there like Sharpie.
Those are the
Try
worst
this.
too. Because
I'm like,
they're just very not genuine ads. And some people do
no.
fall for it and they buy it, but it's like that flat tummy tea. Remember
Yeah.
that I
Uh,
don't, this was a few years ago, where all these companies were coming up with like tea toxes, and you would
yeah.
mix this stuff into your tea and drink it in the morning and then lose like 10 pounds. Like, no, I'm sorry, you're just gonna shit your brains out.
About to say it's a laxative.
Yeah, and
They make
you're,
colon cleanses that are great. I can recommend them.
yeah,
I'm
probably
like,
healthier.
yeah, natural.
But that was, I remember a few years ago, this must have been like, I don't know, like 2016. That was
Yeah.
every influencer was like, try the flat tummy tea. And we're all like, there's gotta be something in here that is not adding up. But it
Yeah.
happens. I mean, companies have a bunch of money and they just pay people. People will say yes.
And that's the
So
thing. At the end of the day, is like realizing like you have a brain in your own head. And I get
mhm.
marketing, and it's smart. That's what you got to do. You got to use the influencers, the people with large audiences. Like, okay, I get like the point behind it, but if it's not a good product, like I always say, can I test it first? I don't like to say anything if I don't know how to what it does. And they're like, oh no, like we have to. And like, no, I'm not gonna do the bullshit. But
Mhm.
I don't even know where I was going with that, other than yeah, bullshit.
Just being authentic. Yeah,
Yes.
not promoting shit that you wouldn't use. I think
Mm,
that's the most, like, if you are monetizing your social media and companies are paying you to create ads, or you're doing content creation from them, just at least work with a company that you believe in and that you would use on a daily basis.
yeah.
Like, there's one company that I use their product every day. So I'm
Yeah.
happy. It's easy. I literally use it every day. So
Mhm.
creating content for them, it's just, I could make a video every single day if I needed to, because it's valuable to me.
Yeah.
And um I just think that's essential, especially in a world full of, I mean, the internet is full of so much fake shit. So
Fake life.
being, yep, being authentic a rare commodity nowadays.
It is. And how many times I get the, you must be doing so well, or you look like you're doing so well. I'm like, based on what? And I'm not
Yeah.
saying like, oh, I'm actually really depressed. Like, no, that's not it. But I'm facing my own set of challenges. Like I said, I'm on the journey. I am
Mhm.
currently on the journey of life, and things are like this some days, and
Yeah.
it's just because you're going with the flow, and there's a high day and a low day, and something bad happens, something great happened. It's balanced. But I think that's like one of the, I always say, like, well, based on like what, like, yeah, I'm okay, I'm doing good, I guess you could say, but in life, like, not, you can't use social media and think like, oh wow, you must be like, yeah, I'm living in a mansion in the freaking, I don't know, some random little island. Like, no, I'm like in Central Texas sweating my ass off right now, currently,
Yeah.
actually. And I still work
Yes.
a full-time job. Like,
Yep.
no. So it's being authentic is so important, so underrated. And I mean, how many people do you see, like, women were going through the whole lounge phase? Like I did too. I loved lounge. And then I was like, this shit's not like worth $70.
Yeah.
Like it's like emptying your pockets for stuff that's, oh, the Calvin Klein. Like obviously go to Marshalls and get it, first of all, pay half the price. But it's
Yep.
like everyone's doing stuff, everyone's putting up, and again, I'm saying this generally, it's not every single person,
Of
but
course.
being something they're not, or being like everyone else. I'm like, fuck it, be exactly who you are, because that is the rarest and truest thing you can be.
Mhm.
Because there's so much fake stuff out there. Like these people just posting their freaking Lamborghinis and like something they probably rented. It's like, and everything's a quick fix.
Yeah.
This is how you get rich
It's
fast,
instant
skinny fast.
gratification.
That's the era we're in.
Yeah.
Everything's fast, fast, fast. How do you make money fast? How do you get skinnier? I'm like, if there was one thing that works for all those, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah. Everybody would be rich. Everybody would be an entrepreneur. And I'm right there with you. I'm on the journey. I haven't
Hmm.
reached the peak of my mountain yet. I'm still
Yep.
I'm still climbing. I have a long way to go and I'm okay with that,
Yep.
And I think something that we talked about on our phone call too is like making the necessary sacrifices to make those dreams and goals happen for yourself. Um, I don't mind working my ass off, uh,
Hmm.
doing whatever, whether it was doing hair, doing bottle service. I don't mind because I know that I'm not going to do this shit forever. This is a means to
Hmm.
an end for me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to enjoy it while I have it. And I'm lucky to say that I enjoy the job that I have. And I can still have the time to bust my ass and grow my business, So I think I think being an entrepreneur, it it's going to create a lot of very difficult times, a lot of stressful times. You're going to have to say no to a lot of things you might want to say yes to.
Hmm.
And, some months can be financially great, some can be really hard. And that's just the reality. It's not the super sexy way that everybody wants to talk about it online. Like, oh yeah, I went through this hard phase and da da da, and I had sleepless nights, but now I'm a millionaire. Okay, well, everybody always talks about the end of the journey, but nobody talks about the very crucial middle of the journey.
Hmm.
The end is this big and the middle is this big.
Yep.
And I think it is, I don't want to say that it's taboo, but it's just why is nobody talking about it? Because if we're all going through it as entrepreneurs, why not share your progress while you're in the middle of it? And I
Hmm.
think it's really humbling, to share. We're all going through trials and tribulations, and we all have a very similar goal, which is to be successful in our own right and have something for ourselves that we govern, and we're not anybody's employee, we're our own boss. And
I
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I agree. It's the we don't allow ourselves to be happy until we've reached like this fake thing that we've created in our mind. Like we let
Mm,
this false sense of reality that we've created govern how the rest of it, like, just, and that's something I had to learn and I'm still going through, is just be happy in the moment. Just be happy in the moment, because guess what? The journey is the fun part, because there is no, like, you're allowed to be happy now. It is an absolute choice. And again, I learned that from
yeah.
that book, like reading it out loud. Sometimes you're like, yeah, that's right. Like why, like I'll be happy when, or my goal is happiness. Like, why
Mm,
is the goal happiness? And I had to like
yeah.
reroute my brain too. Like, don't you just want to be happy? Like Gary Vee always says that. So I always thought of it like, oh yeah, that's the goal, to be happy. And it's like, no, what he means is like, be happy now. Like
Yeah.
there's no reason why you can't be happy now and
And
enjoy
you're
what you got.
you're 100% right. It is a choice. And I I think that's so crucial as well for people to deeply understand that it's not the end goal that is going to bring you happiness. It's not the $1 million mansion or the $250,000 car, the vacation to Bora Bora, whatever. It's happiness is a choice day in and day out, no matter what your circumstances are. um when we first moved to Texas, this was just a few months ago, but we we moved to Texas on a whim within a week of our lease being up in Vegas. And a job fell through for Wayne that we had planned out, and we were like, okay, time to reevaluate. And my husband does a private security contracting, so it does happen. Sometimes contracts are just, they're done. That's it.
Yep.
On to the next.
Mhm.
And we're like, okay, you know what? There's nothing here for us in Vegas. We've always wanted to end up in Texas. Let's go to Texas. And we got a long-term Airbnb, and we had no idea beyond that where we were going to live. We rented it out for a month, and we were like, all right, give ourselves a month to figure it out. And all of our possessions were in storage. We're both looking for jobs at the time. And we rented this Airbnb for a month. We had our 3 dogs with us, and we're just like, this is uncomfortable. This is really uncomfortable, but we know that we're going to get through it,
Yeah.
And so we ended up buying a home the day after we moved. So we got here on the 1st and got into contract on the 2nd. And
Awesome.
30 days later, we moved into our house. And within, I think, a day, Wayne secured a brand new contract that's perfect for him. And I got the very first job I applied to within, I think, like 3 days. And so it's like, you gotta know that you just do what you can control. And beyond that, don't stress, don't worry. But even though those times are tough and there's a lot of uncertainty, you can still choose to be happy. I've met people that have everything that are fucking miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because it's like, damn, like I mean, we're fortunate that we weren't, destitute. It wasn't worse. Could have been so much worse, right? But I was telling my parents, like, yeah, like, I don't know, we'll find a house eventually. And my parents were like, oh my God, what are you gonna do? And it's like, okay, I love you so much. Please do not project your fears and worries on me, because I know that I'm gonna be good. Yeah. And I can't have you stressing and worrying, or anybody else for that matter. We're gonna be fine. And it ended up better than we both could have imagined. So being happy in those moments, I truly believe, will lead you to the life that you want to live, that will just a continuation of your goals and your dreams, and enjoying every step of the process.
I love that. And that's an excellent place to stop on, because we're about to be out of time. But I appreciate you, Megan. There's a lot of little nuggets in here, everyone. So please re-listen or listen to it when you're on a car ride or something, because there's a lot of valuable information, especially if you are Gen freaking XY, W elemental P, I don't know, whatever
all the generations,
because everything's evolving, and we cannot live in fear of whatever the hell is going on or what new thing is going to come out. We have to embrace it, move forward, adapt, evolve. And that's the whole point of Risk Valor too, is be adaptable, be reckless. And people are like, reckless? I'm like, yeah, reckless with your goals. Like, just fucking go for it.
Hell
like,
yeah.
No risk, no glory,
Yep. I love that.
So I'm like, it sounds crazy, but I'm like, yeah, reckless in a good way, not like freaking dangerous way, but
yeah, just fucking go for it. That's literally it. Yeah. That's
but no,
awesome.
I appreciate you coming on. It was a really good conversation. Always fun when there's a surprise thing that comes up. But I thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Hopefully again in the future. So
yes,
I'll always love to have you back.
Absolutely. I'll be here.
Well, thank you, Megan. And thank you everyone to listening. This has been Risk Valor. Another great episode. Be adaptable. Be reckless.